Good evening, good evening. Please forgive the last minute decision to come on. We'll give you guys a few minutes to find your way in. I was studying for tonight because it's been a couple weeks since I've been with you guys, and I had a unexpected visitor come to my house, which was a huge blessing. But sometimes, you just gotta stop and love on people when God sends them to you. So that's what I was doing. So I apologize. I'm usually on a little earlier. So I'm hoping as I just wait a few minutes, you're able to join me. I didn't have any makeup on. I put some mascara and some lipstick on. So we'll see. We'll see what that does. These eyelashes are blonde, so if I don't have mascara on, it can look a little funny sometimes. I look really, people are always like, are you tired? I'm like, no, you just can't see my eyes. So I was studying actually for a blog I was writing for my church, and I just felt like I wanted to come on here and share because it's easy to get out of the habit of doing anything. So I definitely did not want to get out of the habit of coming on Mondays, and not only to give encouragement, but to also receive encouragement from my sisters. I got to see all of my sisters this weekend except for one. I won't name any names. But we always have a great time connecting and just getting together, and how we can love on you guys, and just talk about the sisterhood and where the Lord's taken us. And I really needed just to see my sisters and be intentional with my time with them. And then, Tila was an extension of us, so it's easy when we get together to, bounce ideas off each other and things. And it's funny because, we have our own ideas, but I love how we're open to each other's ideas. It's not like I've been in a room with other, not just women, other people, but this is especially true with women that I've worked with. We're not always open to each other's thoughts and ideas, and we should be. So what I love about us is that, like, I'm like, no, actually, I like your idea better. Let's do it that way. Or that's just kind of how we flow with one another, and I love that. Hey, Shamika, sorry for not letting anybody know I was coming on. It was the last minute. Like I said, I had a visitor come to my house and who needed my attention. So I did get to love on someone. So so here I am. Hey, Tam, I was just talking about how I love how when we get together, how we really appreciate each other's thoughts and ideas, and we're never bothered by them. Like, yeah, like that sounds like a great idea, or I like your way better, or we're just so complimentary of one another. It's never a competition, and I love that it's a true sisterhood, in that we really just encourage one another's thought processes. So in writing this blog, I'm like, well, I really want to share this with my sisters because I think we've all been in a place like where we feel like, why isn't God answering my prayers? And I know if you've ever prayed a prayer at all, that you have felt like that at some time. So I have this scripture. It's in Hosea 10:12, and it says this: sow for yourselves righteousness, reap in mercy, break up your fallow ground. For it is time to seek the Lord till he comes and rains righteousness on you. So we're going to talk about tonight, what is fallow ground first, and because that's what we're going to be. Hosea, I'm sorry, Hosea. I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. So let's talk about fallow ground first. What is fallow ground? It's just simply ground or soil which has been left unplanted for a period of time. So keep that in mind as we're talking, because we're coming back to that. So I know it seems like, God's seemingly not answering our prayers. And I'm not talking about, like, we all know there are times when we can look back in hindsight and be like, Lord, thank you for not answering that prayer. We're all thankful for those unanswered prayers. We think we know what we need, but God is always faithful, and He works for us in spite of us sometimes. And He works all things for our good, according to Romans 8:28. So what I'm referring to those are those prayers that we need, that should be answered, that we need answered. And so we're praying for something and wondering why God may not be answering. And sometimes it feels like He's not hearing us. And so what the Lord showed me is it could be our ground is fallow. And so let's look at that. And I'll use a prayer for forgiveness and reconciliation for my first example, because that's something that I walked through and I can speak on personally. So, and I've talked about this, there was a time I was in a hurtful and a difficult place with someone in my family. They weren't speaking to me, even at family events. I would be there with them, and they would be right across the table at times, and I was not able to commune with them. I was praying really hard for the Lord to reconcile and heal that relationship, and it was extremely painful to walk through. Shamika was there for some of that, and it was all good on my end. I had forgiven them. I tried to fix things. It just made things worse. So what I had to finally realize is I needed to give this to the Lord, and then there was work I needed to be doing. And so I had to go through some time to realize, first of all, what forgiveness is. Forgiveness forfeits your right to closure, and I've said that many times. If you're still looking for some type of conversation, some type of closure, you're not ready. And so you've heard me say that you're not ready. So you still got work to do. So while I may have been ready even at times, that didn't mean the other party was ready either. So because of that, and time is a healer too, it did take a few years. And so as we know, the Bible describes forgiveness in so many beautiful ways. We have so many beautiful examples. But one condition for receiving forgiveness from God is our willingness to forgive others. Because He said, if you don't forgive others, He won't forgive you. And that's a pretty stout word. So, but here's what you need to know. Love is God's motivation for forgiveness, for really everything. It's pure and simple. So as Christians, we forgive because we're forgiven. So everything we do really should be motivated by love. So, and I get it, I do. It's not always easy. Some things are just really hurtful. And because of this, forgiveness can sometimes be difficult. And so maybe that's where we have some fallow ground. Like I said, I was stubbornly trying to fix things on my own, but I needed to be tending to my ground. And so I really wasn't ready to fix things when I thought I was ready to fix things. So my ground was left unattended. And I was plowing away in a field that I had no business in. And that's restoration. That field is God's. And I'm trying to plow in God's field. And that didn't work because that's not mine. It's not my place. So I need to go back and tend to the field that God was planning for the harvest, which is the field of receiving, which is that fallow ground. So the good news is God miraculously restored that relationship to even better than before. And you should also know that I was perfectly okay with never having that conversation, an explanation, because I literally did not know why I wasn't being spoken to. Almost a year later, after the relationship was restored, I did receive an explanation, which was just another opportunity for the Lord to be glorified, and to do some work, and He's so faithful. I would have been okay if it never happened, but it needed to for them, and I'm thankful for that conversation. And so I'm gonna go through another example of things that can be fallow. And so in this example, we're going to see that there are times that God cannot answer our prayers because we're just not ready to receive the answer. We always think we are, but if God's not answering your prayer, you may not be ready. And so be open to hearing from him and figuring out what it is we need to do. And we're going to go through that, I promise. And so we're going to look at the man that Jesus healed at the pool of Bethesda. And if you're not familiar with that story, it's found in the 5th chapter of John. And so it says this man had been an invalid for 38 years. And as the story goes, at a certain season, an angel would come trouble the waters. And after that, the first one in the pool, after the angel troubled the waters, they would be healed. And so since it's written that this man was laying on a mat, it's believed that he must have been paralyzed. So he had no way to get himself to the pool after the water was troubled, and he had been there 4 years and years and years laying on this mat. And picture this, he's laying on this mat, he begs for everything, he's surrounded by people that are also sick and in need of healing. So this is his company that he's keeping, this is who he's surrounded by. Not that that's bad, and we'll get to that. So when Jesus approached him, he asked the man, do you want to be healed? I'm sure we know that Jesus knew the answer to that question, but this tells me a couple things. The man was looking for his healing in one place because his response to Jesus was, well, no one will help me get to the waters after the angels troubled it. So that in his mind, that's the only way he can see himself changing his circumstances. And so the other thing is that Jesus was confirming this man was ready to receive. So while it appeared Jesus may have been asking an obvious question, sometimes we need to voice for ourselves out loud what it is that we need to make sure we're ready. Of course, the man said yes, and he wanted to be healed. He was ready. So Jesus told him to pick up his mat, and he was healed instantly. It's an amazing story. What we need to keep in mind is in that instant, everything in that man's life changed. He could no longer identify as an invalid. He could no longer be in that place surrounded by those people who I'm sure were all bonded in their circumstance. They were bonded because they all had infirmities and they had that in common, and they probably were a comfort to one another. And there are times when you're in a season where you do need someone to have empathy and sympathy for you when you're going through circumstances, but you better be ready when you move out of that circumstance like you're praying for. Not everything can come with you to where God's taken you. So we need to look around at who we are surrounded by. And not everyone or everything is necessarily bad. It's just that once that prayer is answered, you may no longer need to identify in the same way, with the same people, in the same places. Understanding this is part of being ready for God to answer your prayers. And it's hard to walk away from comfort sometimes, isn't it? You know, there's a saying in the world that says, the evil you know. But sometimes we get so comfortable in our circumstances that it's hard to step out of it. But if you want to take that step, God meets you. He will meet you. And so because, you know, something in you know what you're supposed to be doing. And so Jesus must have known this man was ready to begin his new life, as with everyone else he healed, because I want you to remember this. Jesus did not heal everyone he encountered during his ministry here on earth. I believe it's because some were not ready to receive it. Their ground was fallow. And so we need to be ready to receive what we're asking for. And so the question is, are you tending to the field of receiving, or are you trying to mess in a field that's not yours? Because we need to tend to the field that we're asking the Lord to harvest the answer in. So are you pulling weeds? Are you watering? Are you fertilizing? Some of us just Some of us literally just pray and we fold our arms. Maybe you're even tapping your foot. All right, Lord, I pray. You need to do something. And that's where we get sometimes. You may be waiting a while. But the good news is there's something we can do. So if there's something that you're asking the Lord for and you're wondering why he's not answered, I challenge you to ask him these two things. Number one, Lord, is this something that will draw me closer to you? As in, is this something you should even be asking for in the first place? And be willing to accept his answer on this. I have had times in my life where I knew I was dating the wrong person, and I looked for signs and could have sworn that I saw them. I was making a puzzle piece fit where it didn't fit. And so, would that relationship have drawn me closer to the Lord? No, it probably would have dragged me further away. So, be willing to accept the Lord's answer to that prayer. Number two, Lord, help me to get my fallow ground ready to receive that which I am asking for. How do you do that? I'm so glad you asked. How do we get our fallow ground ready? Well, let's look at how the farmers tend to their fallow ground, because I feel like as I go through this, you're going to catch on to what this is. And it's, when the Lord first showed me this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So during the unused years, the fallow ground develops a very hard crust and will not accept seeds and produce growth. So first things first, you got to break up that hardened ground. Next, they plow repeatedly to break up all the clods, which are large pieces of hardened dirt. So it's not enough to just break up the surface. You got to keep plowing repeatedly to make sure all those hard pieces are broken up. Only after the ground has become softened after repeated plowing is it ready to receive seeds and produce growth. Wow, right? This shows us what to do to be ready to receive. So we need to unharden our ground or our hearts, break up those clods, allow ourselves to be softened so we can receive. We have to plow it repeatedly to ensure there's no hardness left. Only then are we ready to plant seeds that will produce growth, answers, healing. Listen, God's faithful and he'll answer our prayers, but are you willing to do some plowing? That's a tough one. You know, once I realized that prayers are so much more than words, there's got to be something I'm doing. You know, there's a scripture that says, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. And you can think of waiting as terms of time, or you can think of waiting as in terms of service, serving, like a waiter or waitress. During this time, what are we doing? Are you standing there with your arms crossed, tapping your foot, going, Lord, why aren't you answering this prayer? I'm faithful. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Where are you at? And he's like, your ground is fallow. You're not ready to receive this. You're still holding on to this. You're still thinking this way. You're still feeling this way. You're not ready. So my challenge to us all is, points at self too, if there's something I'm asking the Lord for and I have not yet received an answer, I need to get to plowing in that field. I need to be doing something. I can't just stand here, look up to the sky, and wait for some answer to come barreling down towards me into my situation. God's not a genie, right? Like, but we treat him like one sometimes. You know, like we want God to go, okay, answer. But that's not how it works. God loves us so much. He loves us so much that he's like, listen, just keep plowing. Just keep working because you're so close. You're almost there. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't take your eyes off. You keep serving. You keep loving. You keep plowing at that fallow ground. And it says repeatedly, I don't know how many times that is for you or me, until it's ready. And then I feel like the Lord always is so faithful in that he shows us little nuggets. Like you can see him working, you can see his hand in things. And I think that that's his way of going, like, I get it. We're human. Your faith is wavering a little bit. Let me show you I'm working so you can keep plowing. He's so faithful to do these things. And I've seen that time and time again, and waiting for things. But it's hard sometimes when you're hurting and you want so much for that hurt to go away immediately. We don't want to walk through it because that's tough. That hurts. I don't like it. I don't like how that feels. I just want it to be good already. That's tough. It's tough to walk through. However, God doesn't never say we're not going to go through hard things, but he'll say he'll take us through hard things. So we don't walk those things alone. And sometimes that looks like a sisterhood walking up beside you, locking arms with you, saying, you know what? This is tough, but I'm here to hold your arms up. We're going to trudge through this. We're going to plow through this until we're ready. Until you're ready to receive, we're going to do this together. Right? Isn't that what TLO's here for? So if you have been praying and you're discouraged and you feel like the Lord's not hearing you, he does, I promise. He hears you. That's just your cue to take a really good, long, hard look at yourself and say, Lord, show me my fallow ground and help me to plow that stuff, because help me to see when I'm ready to receive. And you'll know. You will know, because you'll feel different. You'll see things different. Things change. Things will change in you, in your heart, in your spirit, in your mind. It says we have the power of a sound mind, the spirit of love, spirit of a sound mind, spirit of power. These things are spirits. We want to talk about like spirit of fear, but we forget the good stuff, like the spirit of love, spirit of power, a spirit of a sound mind. Just declare that over yourself sometimes, like, I receive a spirit of a sound mind, because sometimes my mind is noisy and I need it to be clear. I receive that spirit of love so I can serve others, like myself included, like Tam says, our Serve Yourself September. But I like that, because if we're tending to ourselves, we're plowing our ground, and while you're in that space, you can still bless and touch others. That's the best time to me to serve, is when you're in a place where you need to receive. Go serve somebody. Go serve others. It's very healing, and it helps you get to a space of where you need to be as well. And so I don't have a long sesh for us ladies, but I hope this blessed you. It sure did me. When I was studying what fallow ground was and the meaning of it, I was like, just this light bulbs were going off, and I was like, but it's encouraging, because I know when I pray and I'm believing for something, I have work to do. I don't just stand there and expect God to wait on me. He's not my waiter. He's not, that's the other way around. So I love it. I hope you loved it. I love you guys, and I will be back next Monday, because we gotta be consistent. So y'all have a very blessed week, and tune in tomorrow for our sweet Tam's Tuesday. And I love Tam's on Tuesdays, because she always has such the Lord always gives her such a cool word, and it's something that sticks with you. It's pretty cool. And so, do you want to join me, Mika? Or did you mean to hit that button before I join in? I love you too, Mika. because I got a request for you to join me. So I just want to make sure you want to join me before I hit the button, because, you know, last time you hit the button on me, I was in the bathtub. So, okay. Okay, whoops. Let me, I think that worked. Let's see. Let's get Mika on here. Ooh, this is exciting. Get my Mika Lou. All right, something's happening. You gotta love live, Facebook Live, right? I love this. We're just unscripted, impromptu here. It says adding. Did you get the invite? I think it makes me send you an invite first. I like to say that I'm tech savvy, but there are times when I struggle to remember how to send an email. So okay, cool. Oh, connection failed. Okay. Well, I don't think that. Add. Try it again. I'm holding tight, Mika. I'm not in a hurry if you're not. I feel like I should be like singing or something. Mika lost in the Matrix. Okay, listen, we're gonna figure this out. Approve. Okay, send invite. Okay, it says you're connecting. Maybe it says you can't be added while you're connecting. So hang on. Approve. Okay, maybe it's. It just says it just says this thing at the top where it says adding connection failed. I don't know why it's not letting you. And maybe you can go live and hook me on. I'm not sure why that's not working. Let me send the invite again. Because we've done this before. We're gonna make it work. I could always do the Jeopardy. Ba na 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 na. It's not sending it to you, sis. I'm sorry. Listen, Facebook, schmashbook. Okay. They can't tell us what to do. Well, I'm sure you had something phenomenal to add, so maybe you can just jump on live and whatever it is. I know it's good stuff. I love you guys. I so enjoyed my time with you guys this week, and I'm telling you, ladies, get together with your sisters, be intentional because it matters. It's I'm pretty sure we talk every day on text, so I enjoy that. Okay, let's try that. All right, guys, we're gonna end this. Love you.